Hey guys, today we are going to learn about the quota management in Windows 2016 Server. What does quota management mean? Quota management works on shared folder. If you like to restrict the user storage limit, for instance, we can say like IT security and HR department, they'll have only 100 GB of uh, storage space for each folder. That's how we can put the limit or quota. So in order to do that, we'll have to have a domain controller, which we already have, and we do not have file server, so we'll go ahead and create one file server from scratch. So let's do that. So we'll click on new, and I'll go ahead and select a folder where I like to keep my file server. So I prefer my D drive. If you can store it anywhere, so that will be my location. And I created this folder before, which is file server 01 Contoso. So I'll go ahead and select that folder, and we'll name the folder as fs01 Contoso, and it will be Microsoft Windows, but it will be Windows 2016 64-bit server. Click next, and memory will be 2 GB. Okay, click next. Let's create the hard disk. We can select the VMDK type. It will be dynamically allocated for sure. Let's go ahead and create the empty shell, and then I'll have to start the empty shell. Once it starts, we'll have to point the ISO file. So our ISO file will be from ISO folder, but it depends where did you save your ISO file. So I'll go ahead and select my Windows 2016 Server Data Center Evaluation ISO. I'll go ahead and click open, and click choose start. And once we have our file server ready, then we'll have to join the file server to domain controller as well. So this is going to take some time, so let's prepare to install the file server, and once it's ready, then we can join it to the domain. So we'll go ahead and select the last one, which is Data Center Evaluation Desktop Experience, and let's accept the agreement. Let's select the custom install and click next, and this is going to take some time, and once our server is ready, we'll go for the next step. Okay, our server got restarted, and now we have got our password prompt. So we'll go ahead and enter our password that we like to keep for this server for local admin password. So we'll go ahead and click finish, and then once it finalized, we'll get the login screen. So go to the login screen, and this password is for the local administrator. And once we have our desktop, we'll have to prepare this files server to join to domain controller. So before we do that, let's go ahead and check the network settings, which I forgot to select. So we'll go to the Oracle VM VirtualBox Manager, and we'll select our FS01 Contoso and go to the network. And if you do remember, we are supposed to select the bridge, but it's selected NAT. So we'll go ahead and click on bridge. So we are not late yet, so we'll go ahead and click OK. So let's go back to our file print server. There you go. So we'll click on yes, and now we'll have to change the server name. So once the server manager shows up, so we will click on local server and then click computer name. So computer name will have to be the FS01 Contoso. So it's still taking the inventory. This is why it's showing unknown. So once the server gets up and running, then we'll get, there you go. Now we can see all the content. So now we'll go ahead and click on change. So we'll name it as FS01 Contoso. There you go. Click OK. And click OK. Click close. Restart now. So let the server restart, and then again we'll log in as local administrator, and then we'll have to add the DNS IP address and then join it to the domain. So let's wait for a moment. So we got our server restarted. We'll go ahead and log on using our local admin credential. And now once we get our server manager, we'll go ahead and add this server to our domain controller. So before we go there, we'll have to add the DNS address to our network properties. So if you to remember how to get the DNS IP address, so we'll have to go to the domain controller, and then we can check the IP address. We'll go to, this is our domain controller, and we'll go to search and then enter CMD. It's working a bit slow. And then we'll enter IP config. So we'll get our IP address, which is 1.10. That's our domain control IP address, and we'll use this as our DNS. So we'll go to the file server and click local server, and we can change it from here where it says IPv4, and then right click on Ethernet, go to properties, double click on Internet Protocol version, and sorry, we don't need to select this one. We'll go to the DNS server address. It's 192.168.1.10, and we'll enter the Google DNS so that we'll be able to browse internet or connect with internet. So our server preparation is done. So we'll click on the computer name again, change, and we'll connect it to the domain. Our domain name is contoso.local, and our domain administrator is admgreen@contoso.local. Enter password, and it says welcome to contoso.local domain, so which means our first server is connected to our domain controller. So we are building this file server, but if you already have file server, you don't need to do this, but this is our prerequisite to practice this. You can watch the tutorial where it says shared folder enumeration or access based folder access. That's what you need to do to prepare. So let's go ahead and log into our file server. So this time we'll click on other users because we are not going to use the local admin password anymore. So our domain admin is admgreen@contoso.local, and we'll enter our domain admin password. So once we enter, so it'll take us to the domain controller. So there you go. So now our server is connected with domain controller, and how would we check whether this server is connected with domain controller or not? So we can check this by using two ways. So we can go to search and go to this PC properties, or we can go and check from the file. We can go and check from the server manager. So this is the server manager. So we'll click on local server, and this is our computer name. Once we click there, then we'll be able to see the domain is contoso.local. Even it says here, which means our server is connected to the domain controller. Great. So now we need to create a shared folder. So we'll go to the C drive. We'll have to ensure that we are in file print server. So we'll go to the C drive and then create a shared folder, which is shared, and then we'll create can create 2 folders or 3 folders. One can be IT, one can be HRO, one can be security, so we'll go ahead and we'll go to the up first, and then right click onto the share, go to properties, and then click sharing, click share, and then we'll have to share this folder with everyone with read permission. So our folder is shared, and that's our network shared location, which is FS01 Contoso, and then click close. And now we'll have to check, we'll have to assign the permission for subfolders. Let's go ahead and start with HRO. So go to the properties, and then go to security, click advanced, and we'll have to disable the inheritance, convert inheritance permission into explicit permissions on this object, yes, and then click OK, and then we'll have to remove this everyone. So click edit, remove everyone, and then add the HRO security group. So HRO security group we can add because the security group already created. Once again, you need to follow that specific tutorial to prepare this. If we don't have the file server ready, we will not be able to assign the quota management. So that's our prerequisites. So we are done with HRO. We can go to the IT and click security, click advanced, disable inheritance, and then we'll click OK, click edit, remove everyone, add IT, check names, and we'll provide the modify access. Okay, so our shared folder is ready now. Now we can go to our Windows 10 workstation and log in as a user that has IT security groups included. So let's go ahead and log in using our user name Tom Cruise, who has got the security group IT. So it's Tom Cruise at contoso.local, and the username or password is incorrect. What did I write? The user ID is wrong, so it will be Tom Cruise and the user that you created and added the IT security group. Again, we'll have to have the file server ready with the shared folder, and we have got the separate tutorial for that. If you don't have it, you will not be getting the feature that we are talking about. So now our workstation is starting, and we just used a user called Tom Cruise who belonged to a security group called IT. So which means whenever this user will log on to the system from Windows 10 workstation, will get the S drive with the folder IT only. So now we can go ahead and check. So we haven't got our desktop yet. It's whenever any user logs on at first time, it works very slowly. Still we can see the circle is moving. Okay, now we can see all the icons are showing up. So we'll go to the File Explorer. We'll go to this PC, and we can see the S drive is right there, and also I can see both folders, IT and security. If you do remember, we did not assign any permission for the security folder, so this is why this user is able to see security. So we can fix that, but IT folder is the one that we are talking about. All right, so now we'll go back to our server and configure our this Quota Management. So this our file server is ready. Now we'll go to the server manager, and then we'll have to click on manage and click add roles and features, and then click next. Click next, and this is our file server. Click next. So we'll have to install a role to activate this Quota Management. So once we get the roles or the list of roles, we'll have to click on to the file and storage services. So we'll have to expand that, and then we'll have to expand file and iSCSI services, and we can see the file server is installed, but we need the role called file server resource manager. So we'll click there and click add features, click add. We will not select anything from here, so we'll go ahead and click next, click install. So our Quota Management will be installed shortly, and then we'll configure our files or folder Quota Management. And by the meantime, we can go to the shared, and we can remove the security folder. Basically, we don't need it because we can deal with only 2 folders. And you can create a security group and then add another user and then assign the permission. That way that security folder can be a help. So but right now we can work with 2 folders only. So the role installation is in progress. And once the role gets installed, we'll configure the Quota Management. And why do we need this Quota Management? If we do not have the Quota Management in place, any user can copy any the volume of files folders, and that may cause the server storage issue. So for instance, if our server does not have enough space, and if an user keeps copying all the stuffs, movies, videos, and all the large files, then eventually the server will crash one day. But it's better to determine how much space we can offer for each section. That way that section will be doing the housekeeping before the storage gets finished. Our file server resource manager role is installed. We'll go ahead and click close, and now we can click on this notification where it will say installation succeeded, and let's click on tools, and then we'll click on file server resources manager to configure the Quota Management. So let's make sure that we are onto the right server. There you go, we have our file server resource manager. So we'll click on Quota Management. We click on to the quota, but we do not have any quota management configured. So we'll create quota from the actions, and we'll select the quota path. So let's go ahead and select the quota path from C drive, and then we'll click onto the shared folder, and we'll click onto the HRO subfolder and click OK. And there we'll have to define the custom quota properties. So we'll click on custom properties, and then let's give space limit is 100 megabyte, which means if you try to copy any file or folder which is over 100 megabyte, then HRO users will not be able to copy those files or folders. Again, HRO folder has got the quota restriction with 100 megabytes, so which means if any user belongs to HRO will not be able to copy any files or folders that has over 100 megabytes. So let's go ahead and test it. So we'll click on create, and we will not save this as a template, so we'll click OK, and our quota management is working now. Now we'll go to the Windows 10 workstation, and then we'll try to copy something. So before we do that, let's log off from the system and log in as HR user. So we'll have to log on from Windows 10 workstation as a user who is belong to HR security group. So we have one user named Jane Doe who has got the HR security group. So how we can check that? We can go to the DC, which is our domain controller, and then go to the Active Directory, users and computers, and that's our Active Directory, users and computers, and we do have few users. And where is our Jane Doe? Jane Doe is right there, and so she is a member of HR security group. Okay, so we'll go to the Windows 10 workstation and log in as Jane Doe. Click on other user, Jane Doe at Contoso local. And once our user Jane Doe logs on, we can check the quota management is working or not. So we have got our desktop and Jane is logged on, and we go to the File Explorer. It's slow. And once we get our File Explorer, then we can try to copy over 100 megabyte onto the HR folder. to check to see if it works or not. But since we have activated our quota management, uh, it will not allow us to copy over 100 megabyte of files or folder there. But the non-HA users, like for instance, if a user log on who is belong to um, IT security group, they can copy any size of files or folder because we did not assign any quota management there. For an example, our user Tom Cruise, uh, if Tom Cruise logs on, Tom Cruise will be getting IT folder, and we can copy anything and everything there, as we did not assign any quota management there. Um, but I made a mistake while I created the Tom Cruise user ID. There is a typo. The Cruise should be Cruise. There is a typo that I made with Z. It should have S. So anyways, let's go ahead and click on this PC, and we'll go to our S drive, and then HRO folder is there. So now we'll have to find out a large file that is over 100 megabytes. So what I did, I already downloaded a Windows 10 Enterprise ISO and saved it in C drive. So you can download that kind of large file from internet and then try to copy it over to that folder. Like this is my downloaded ISO, so I'll go ahead and try copying that. So that's our 4.7 gig of file. So I'll right click onto the file and then click copy, but I don't see that, so I'll have to select it again and then right click, copy, minimize the window, and then this is our HRO folder located in S drive, and that's the location shared on FS01 Contoso. So we are going to try copying here. So it will say 4.55 GB is needed to copy this item. Delete or move files so you have enough space, because our quota management is activated. So it will not copy a file that is over 100 megabyte. So click cancel. Now we can log off and log on as an IT user to check to see if it allows to copy or not. So we'll log off from user Jane Doe. And now we'll log on as Tom Cruise. So once we log on to our domain controller, we'll go to the file explorer and try to copy that ISO file to IT folder, and it will allow us to copy because IT folder does not have any quota limitation. We have got our desktop, so we'll go to the File Explorer. And then click this PC, and let's copy that ISO file first, and then select, right click, copy. So let's go to S drive, and then let's try to copy an IT subfolder. So this is going to allow us to copy this 4 GB of ISO file, because it does not have any quota enabled onto the file server. So that's how we can enforce quota management. And the other very important topic is file screening. What does file screening do? File screening is if you like to restrict certain types of files not to be copied onto a specific folder. Like for instance, I really don't want any executable files to copy it onto our shared folder. Like I don't want any user to try to copy like batch files, exe file, or etc. So how would I do that? So we'll go ahead and log into our file server. And from the file server resource manager, we'll go to the file screening management, and then we'll click on file screens, and we'll click on create file screen, and we'll select the path for that. So we'll go ahead and select C drive, and then shared folder, and click HRO, click OK, and then we'll have to choose the type of file that we like to deny copying there. So click custom properties, and I don't want anyone to copy executable files, for instance any batch files. So if you go to, so let's go ahead and click OK, then create, and then click save the custom file screen without creating a template. Click OK. So file screening option is enabled. Now let's go to our Windows 10 workstation, and then let's create one batch files. So, oh my bad, because this user is belong to IT, it will not work. So we'll go ahead and log off first, and then log on as HR user, which is our Jane Doe. So we are going to log on as Jane. And the first step is to create a batch file and save it onto Jane's desktop, and then try to copy that batch file from desktop to the HR folder located in S drive. It will not allow us to copy the batch file into S drive under HR folder, because we have enabled the file screening option. So let's go ahead and open a notepad and create a batch file. So our batch file will have just one command called winvar. Winvar commands displays the version of the current Windows version. So we'll click on Save As, and then choose the file type is all files, and location would be desktop, and the file name would be test script.bat, which is batch file. And then let's go ahead and exit from there. Now we'll right click onto this batch file, click copy, and go to the file explorer, click this PC, S drive, system is really slow, so let's the S drive shows up first, and then we'll try to paste that test script under HRO folder. Now right click and paste, and it says you need permission to perform this action, which means our file screening option is working. So guys, I hope this is very informative for you, and please practice as much as you can, and if you have any question, feel free to ask this onto our comment box or just email us. Thank you.